Hey, this is going to be a first of a series that we're going to get a chance to do. Chris and Dale. This is just a chance for me to have conversations with you around money, wealth, and all the things, and to have a place where I can bring some of you on if you choose to want to do some coaching and that type of thing. And so this is going to be good. Thank you. So say hello when you're coming in. I just got back. I was just at an event speaking. Actually had 2 events in a row speaking, and then tomorrow I'm speaking twice at 2 different events on the same day. So the beauty of virtual speaking, I guess, at times. So, hey, I got my coffee, and that's Budo right there. And so the idea behind this is I'm going to be doing this regularly and just coming on. And I have, for those of you that don't know, I actually have a Q&A, call it a Q&A hotline. So, here's what I figured. We got some nutty times ahead of us. There's all this talk about recession. We've got inflation. Prices are going up. Stock market's volatile. And how do we navigate this? And so I thought doing a regular Q&A like this live, where I can coach you live. If someone has a question, I can bring you on live. Never done it, so I'll have to figure it out. But that we get a chance to do that, and you have a safe place to go and get some guidance, if you will. And so I had some questions come in. If you have questions that you just want to submit, you can pop them into the comments, or you can go to askmelnow.com, askmelnow.com. You can record it, or you can leave it, and we'll make sure that we get them answered. Between this and my show, this is a place where I want to serve you and serve the financial journey that we're all on, and to kind of get you some sanity in all of this stuff. So that's how this is going to play. This is just an open forum for us to have a conversation and for me to coach you if I can. So I got some questions that came in. I'll go through those and questions that are coming up here. Rex is asking the question of what's my level of concern about availability of cash at the banks? I'm actually not that concerned about it. I know that there's a lot of people that are talking about it and saying, "Oh, you got to have cash. You got to have cash." I mean, like hard cash. Now I have cash, but if you jumped on my mattress, it's not stuffed with cash and everything. In our system, and what Rex is getting at is our system is they don't have the cash in all the banks. And so there is always a risk that, oh my gosh, if people go in and say, I want to withdraw my cash, that there isn't the availability to get the cash because of it. This is the thing that I think is a concern, but I just don't think that it's a probability of happening now. And so that's kind of, I'm not that concerned about it. I got plenty of cash in the banks. I got plenty of cash in investments, in the stock market, and we're, but I do have cash on the side more for other things. So hopefully that makes sense. So I had a question that came in on the hotline. Hey, should I invest in a Roth or a traditional IRA? So let's just look at this from what it is. First off, the traditional IRA is what you're probably used to. So the bottom line is that traditional IRA, you get a tax deduction for putting money in IRA. You can put away $6,000 or $7,000 depending on your age. You get a tax deduction for it, and then when you take it out down the road, you pay taxes on it. And so that's what most people are used to. But there's this idea of a Roth IRA. And what a Roth IRA is, you don't take a tax deduction for what you put into it. And you can put $6,000 or $7,000, depending on age, in it a year. And you don't get a tax deduction. So you're going to pay tax on that money. But down the road, when you take money out, it's 100% tax-free. So should you, and now this is not specific advice, but general advice, should you put money in a Roth IRA or should you put money in a traditional IRA? And I think there's two breaking points for this. One, if you are young, Okay, young. I'm going to be 61. So young is anything below 60, at least. No, below 70. I don't know. But here's the deal. If you're young, in other words, you have this long runway before you're going to need the money, Roth may be the better way to go because the time value of money, the compounded effect is going to grow that money tremendously. So when you take it out, you could have millions of dollars in it and it's 100% tax-free. Okay? That's a huge benefit to a Roth. Now, the other pivot point is what's your tax rate? If your tax rate is over 20 or 25%, you might look at it and say, if you're in California. California is a high tax state. Don't remind me. Okay, I get reminded every year. But it's a high tax state. So if we're paying up to 50% in taxes between federal and state and everything, then the tax deduction may be a more valuable thing today than having to pay tax later. Because if I move or I relocate and I'm in a lower tax rate when we take it out, then putting it into a traditional may be better. So in my situation, I look at it and say, if the break point is 25, if you're 25 or 30% in tax, you're kind of right on that cusp. But if you're in a lower tax rate, I would probably go to a Roth. If you're in a higher tax rate, I probably would take the traditional IRA. I want to push as much into a Roth as possible so I get that tax-free benefit down the road. And I have that time to be able to do it. And there's some nuances with the Roth that you need to be aware of. If you have certain income levels, over a certain income level, you may not qualify in doing a Roth. So just be aware of that. You recommend I bonds with the current rate. So this is a good question. So I bonds are inflation bonds. So these are bonds that have a fixed rate and an element that is adjusted for inflation. They were pretty well not used, not considered for many years because our inflation was close to zero. But now with inflation where it's at, the I bonds are above 9%. Now this gets adjusted every 6 months. So it's over 9% now, and it may go down if inflation comes under control, or it may go up if it doesn't. So we need to understand that. But there's some things with I bonds that you need to be aware of. One is you could only put $10,000 into an I bond a year, or potentially 15 if you use 5,000 from a tax refund to do it. So you have a limit of what you can put in. Two, you have a requirement to keep it in for a minimum of a year and typically 5 years, or you're going to get penalized by having to pay back 3 months of the interest. So it is something, but at $10,000 and locked in, it's not something that you want to put your money in if you're going to need the money in a short period of time, or you're going to be stuck with paying back 3 months of interest as a penalty, and you can't get it out within the first year. So hopefully that helps. Chris is saying, where would you recommend a poor college student invest for retirement? Yeah, this is an interesting question. Let me understand. Are they still a college student? Chris, are you open to coming on and we can talk about it? Go live with Chris. There we go. I've never done this. This is the first time. Let's see how this goes. There you are.
Hey, Mr. Mel. How's it going?
How are you doing? I'm doing great.
I'm doing fantastic.
So tell me about this poor college student.
Well, so it's not me. I am more in the closer to 60 category. That's a whole other conversation. Yep. So it's my son. He just turned 21 last week. He finally got a job, and a part-time job.
This is not one in the Navy, right?
No, thank you for remembering. He's a Texas A&M. So he's a fighting Texas Aggie. You probably don't know the Aggies, but they're a whole.
My father-in-law was an Aggie.
Oh my gosh, they're a whole special breed.
Oh yeah.
So he just got this job, and I'm like, hey, listen, you got to start putting away, even if it's $50 a month, which seems
Yeah.
like money when he's trying to pay the rent.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, I want to tell him, something he can do, because besides just putting it in the bank.
Yeah. So does this job have a 401k?
Is it Sonic? No.
No. Okay.
No. It's a fast food.
Okay, cool. Then does he have student loan debt?
Yes. Although it's right now it's paused. Well, the debt's not paused, but they haven't, it's not accruing interest until whatever happens, Biden.
Okay.
It's been paused for 2.5 years.
And is he graduated?
No, he still has a good year to go.
Oh, okay. So it's not even going to start. It's not going to kick up until he graduates anyways.
Exactly. And then plus the 6-month grace period.
All right. So let's leave the student loan alone.
Mm-hmm.
And what I would do is like you said, remember, wealth creation is a behavior. And so it's not a matter of how much he puts away, but rather it's a matter that he's putting it away. And so what I would do is have him set up, first off, an automatic withdrawal from his checking account to either a high yield cash account or an account at something like a TD Ameritrade or Schwab that's a discount broker that doesn't charge fees and everything. So we start to move the money out of sight, out of mind, without him even thinking about it. And if he wants to start small, he starts small at $20, $30. And then what I would look at is, just to make it easy for him at his age, is I would just get an index fund. And what you can do is make sure it's low cost, low fee index fund. What he could do is just use a target date fund.
Okay.
Otherwise, what happens is that you can either put it into a broad market fund, and he'll see it go up and down. So he'll start freaking out and say, Mom, what'd you do? What'd you do? I'm losing my money.
Exactly.
But it just depends on the day, because it's following the market. The alternative is that if he goes into a target date fund and say he's 23 and I go to a 2065 fund or something, then it will automatically adjust the portfolio mix a little, from aggressive to less aggressive as he ages. But the likelihood is that in the next 5-10 years, as he starts to grow, we're going to pull it out of that fund and do something different with it. But it's just to make it easy for him. So the first is open an account. Second step is to make the transfer automatic. The third step would be to have whether it's, a Schwab or a TD Ameritrade or something like that, to do automatic investing.
Yes.
Directly into either a broad-based stock market fund or a target date fund, low fee, low expense, and it's out of sight, out of mind. He needs to know that this is long-term money. He needs to like the fairy tales, just go to sleep for 40 years. And then when he wakes up, he'll see this castle.
Well, that's it exactly. I'm like, this is precious time, and I've been trying to get him since he was 18. I'm like, this is 3 precious years that just left.
Well, if you look,
the aggregation, I'm like, the compounding, I'm like, dude, you do not want to be 40 and then decide this.
At 20 years old, every dollar he invests will turn into almost $90 by the time he's 65.
I'm going to write that one down.
So it's huge. Now, here's the thing. Oops.
I'm having trouble hearing you.
Siri wants to answer the question. But here's the other side of that, is that if he waits just till age 25, and I don't know the number off the top of my head, but it almost cuts that in half.
Wow.
So the value of time as being the most important lever in wealth building is huge. And too often we think, hey, we have plenty of time. But it's the one. So if we think about investing in wealth building, there's 4 drivers to investing in wealth building. Your income is 1. Your saving rate is 2. the returns on the investment is 3, and the time is 4. We can't change time. We can change income, we can change savings rate, and we can impact the returns that we want to take. But the most important thing, because I can't change time, we're going to leave that alone. The most important aspect is savings rate. So getting in the game now and saving as much as I can today will escalate. Now, the other side of this that we didn't talk about is the possibility that he takes an at TD Ameritrade, and he can wait till the end of the year and do this if he wants to.
Okay.
Is to open up a Roth and move the money into a Roth account and invest it to a Roth account. Now, all the growth is now going to be tax-free. So if he put $100 in and it's 90 times by the time he gets to 65, all of that 90 times is 100% tax-free. And so
okay.
At a low tax rate, I would probably, look at it from that perspective. The only challenge with that is obviously he can't get to the money until 59 and a half. He can get to the contributions without penalty, but I wouldn't recommend it. Once it's in, you leave it and let it ride.
Yeah.
If he put it in a normal brokerage account and God forbid he needed the money, he could take it out.
Yeah.
So if we look at the Roth, you want to know that that's a one-way account to 59 and a half, and use it that way, because the magic in that is that if I have $1,000 in there, it's going to grow to 90,000, and I can pull the full 90,000 out 100% tax.
Awesome. And I think because it's hard for him to hold on to money right now because it's college. I mean, I wish anyway, that I'm like, I actually like the idea of it being in a Roth, and I wasn't sure about him for a Roth versus a traditional, but I think then he can't touch it. And then when he earns more, he has more options and to diversify.
Absolutely. And he'll probably end up in a job or something where there's a 401k and
absolutely
conversation.
But I want to start the behavior now. And I'm like, he is 21. And if it's in a Roth, even though that seems like 100 years away for him, and it pop in $50 a month, it automatically comes out of that checking account.
Let him know about, my son, Jeremy.
Mm-hmm.
So Jeremy and Cammy are 30 and 32 years old. They started doing things. Now, they started a little earlier because of the badgering and of her father and me.
Well, they got it coming both ways.
Yeah. But here they are at 32 and 30 and 3 homes and a multi-million-dollar net worth. And when you look at that and you say, now the compound effect of that net worth is going to just continue to grow, they're set. They're set. They do the heavy lifting. They're sacrificing a bit today, but they have the magic of tomorrow. They have, and I know that the tendency in with especially our youth is the YOLO movement of you only live once. Yes, but you're also living longer. So how are you going to take care of that? And the other side of it is, as a parent, you go, I just don't want my 35-year-old child knocking on the door. Hey, can I sack out on the couch in the basement because I'm in trouble?
Exactly.
So we teach them the financial responsibility now. They're good, and they don't impact your retirement. They're independent, and so it goes from there. So
well, and so let me ask you one more question then.
Yeah.
What do you think about acorns? Acorns.
Yeah, I'm not keen on some of the apps. Well, Robinhood, I'm not real keen on because they gamify investing. You can do acorns. The fees last time I checked on it seemed to be a bit high.
Okay.
And that so you just got to look at it, because if we're putting a little bit in and we're getting it eaten up by fees, then it may not make a whole lot of sense.
Okay. Now, because I was looking at something, I'm like, we're all on our phones now, but the kids especially are about the technology.
Yeah.
And so I've heard a lot of things about good things about it. And so I was just curious about that. Okay.
Yeah, I'll look at it again and see, but just look at the fee structure
Okay.
and compare that to, because once you have the automatic transfer set up and everything, it's mindless anyways.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And now I'm just looking for a way to entice him to get invested in.
And that's the thing that Robinhood did. But the problem is they gamified and this is a personal opinion, they gamified investing. It made it so easy to invest, which is great. They took the friction out of investing, but it also took the need to educate. And so they would make investing decisions quickly, but a lot of people lost. I mean, there's people that have committed suicide because they made bad, and it's like, you don't create a game out of something that's serious. It should be fun.
Yeah.
But when you have fireworks going off in the app and all that stuff, it makes it more feel like it's not real, but it is real.
Exactly. No, and it's a fine line. I'm like, well, it's one of those that I'm like, I guess I know I'm old, where I'm like, I don't know. I have my stuff. It's been in Vanguard for a long time, and I'm just kind of like, it's there, and it comes out every month.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah. I mean, I'll look at the rates on that too, on Acorns.
Yeah. Just take a look at it.
Okay. I will. Thank you so much.
It works, but if it's recorded, have them watch this.
Okay. I will.
Yeah.
I will. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. It's nice to get to see you.
Yeah, it's good to be seen. Let me see if there's any other questions that came in. I love this. Look at all this. All right. I got some questions that came in on the hotline at the same time. So let me just, so here's the question. And this is a common question I get. Should I invest or pay off my debt first? This is a great question. Here's the way I look at it. Now, I don't follow the common thought here. I know there are a lot of commentators that say, get out of debt, get out of debt, get out of debt, then invest. Here's the way I see it. Investing is a muscle. Just like I said, investing and building wealth is a behavior. Debt management is a muscle. It's a behavior, whether you're going into debt or getting out of debt. But they're different muscle groups. And so if I just exercise the debt management muscle, it's like the dude that goes to the gym and only works out his upper body. Okay. It just looks odd when he's in shorts. And so I want you to exercise both the wealth creation muscle and the debt management muscle at the same time. Will it extend your ability to get out of debt? Yes, it's going to slow down your debt pay down, but it is also going to accelerate your wealth creation in the sense that, remember, time is the greatest wealth lever. If at 20 years old, every dollar invested is going to be $90 when you retire, the sooner we get the money in, the better off we are. So if I have $500 and I need to pay off debt and I want to invest, I might split it. I might split it in half. I might split it, 60-40, but I'm going to split it. So I'm exercising both muscles and both behaviors. And so my look at it, and the people that I work with, we actually invest and pay down debt at the same time, so we can get the momentum of the compounded effect of wealth and growth in there. We get the behaviors in place, and we're paying off our debt at the same time. We're not going deeper in debt. If we're living beyond our means, that's a whole different conversation. So hopefully that helps. All right, so let me see this question from Melinda. Need to start a monthly investment for my two sons, 14 and 17. Where should I start? Melinda, curious, because I've got some questions for you, because there may be some cool ways to do this, to teach your boys. Are you open to being able to come on and chat? Let me know. And I'll bring you on and we can chat, or I can just do it here, because I think there's some cool things that can happen depending on your situation and everything to do that, where we can not only invest for them, but we can teach them about investing at the same time. It's something that I did with my son. So let me know in the chat if you have a business, because that also could change this. What I'd love to do is not only invest for them, but also teach them about money at the same time. So let me tell you a little bit about what I did with Jeremy and see if that can fit, and then we can talk a little deeper about what you can do. So when Jeremy was 10 years old, I started to give him a commission. Okay, it was a commission for work done. Okay, so it was a commission for work done, and from that commission, he paid for his school lunches. He paid for some of his toys. He paid for some of his clothes. He also invested, and he also put money aside for charity. Okay, but it allowed me to teach him about money and have conversations about money early on. It also indirectly allowed me to take a deduction for it. Now, depending on your situation, but in the US, and I don't know if you're in the US or not, in the US, if you have a sole proprietorship, this does not work for a corporation or LLC. So I had a sole proprietorship plus my corporations. If you pay a child under the age of 18 out of your sole proprietorship, you don't have to pay Social Security tax or anything like that. So basically, if you're going to pay them a $100 check, it's a straight $100 check. You get the deduction, they get the income. You now reduce your taxes. They pay taxes at a lower rate, if they pay taxes at all, because they have a deduction on their end. Couple things happen. You now have given them money, and they're investing it, and you teach them how to invest from there. One. Two, they at that age could take, because now it's earned income, they could open their investment in a Roth Ira and start to invest it so it's completely tax-free down the road. And three, I would do the same thing that I told Chris about, and that is this. If we just, because right now we're talking long-term money, the more important thing is that we get them into the habit and the thinking about investing and money management. If we can instill in them the thinking and the habits, then they'll be fine for the rest of their life. So what I don't want you to do is what I prefer. I won't tell you what to do necessarily. What I would prefer you don't do is go in and do it for them in the background, and they don't know what's going on, because then they don't grow in the process. Okay, I would prefer that you get them involved in the process by getting them to understand a little more, and now they're engaged and enrolled in the process, and they're doing it with you. So they're going to earn income. They can put it into a Roth, and through the Roth they can invest and do it that way. It's a little more complicated, or you can just put it into a regular brokerage account. You will need to, because they're minors, you will need to be on the accounts with them, which is totally fine, except for the Roth. It'll be a custodial Roth type of thing, and then the investments. For now, it's probably just as easy to put it into a broad-based total market stock index fund, low cost, low fee, Vanguard, Fidelity, Vanguard, Fidelity, Schwab. They all have them. Or you put it again into a target date fund that is out, some many years, many decades. But as they grow, you'll do some things more deliberate. More important right now is the conversations you're having with them, the habits they're building, and the thinking they're having. Hopefully that helps, Melinda. Let me know. And if this is of value to you, let me know, because I'll just keep doing these, because it's actually fun having conversations with y'all. This is a really interesting question. This one kind of got at me because there was a question about life insurance. When should we get life insurance? And so here's the thing. Don't, hear me out here, do not ask a life insurance agent when you should get life insurance, because their answer is before you're born. They're there to sell life insurance. That's all they want to do is sell life insurance. So they think life insurance is the solution to everything. Okay? The fact of the matter is like they said, if the only tool you got is a hammer, everything looks like a nail. And that's what happens. They're salespeople. All right? I got nothing to sell you. I don't sell investments. I don't sell insurance. I don't sell any of it. I sell you on your dreams. I want to make sure that you get there. And so I want to give you the facts. I want to give you the reality, because I know that I've heard of people that got sold into life. They put life insurance on young children. Why? Why do I need to insure my child? You know, the purpose of life insurance is to replace income to take care of people that are depending on that income. So if I'm a single individual and it's just me and I got nothing, do I need life insurance? Maybe not. Now, I'm gonna caveat that. There's a thing called insurability. And so let's take me, for example. In 2019, some of you know that they found a tumor in my bladder. It was turned out to be a 7.5 centimeter tumor, and it was cancerous. And so because of that, I can't get life insurance. Now, I don't need it, but I can't get it, at least for a lot of years. Now, here's what's going to happen with me, because I'm 60, going to be 61. And then by the time I get past the cancer long enough, because I've been out of it for 2.5 years now, they're going to look at me and go, great, you're past the cancer, but now you're too old. We're not going to insure you. So point being is that sometimes you get insurance to insure your insurability, okay? To insure your insurability, to make sure. So you get it while you're healthy, the premiums are low, and you insure your insurability that way in case something happens with your health down the road. But there's a couple of different kinds of insurance that come into play. There's what they call term insurance, which is just plain vanilla insurance. You're saying, I'm buying a policy to insure me that's going to pay out if, God forbid, something happens to me. So if I have children, if I have a spouse, if I have someone depending on my income, yeah, I might want to look at life insurance and term insurance to insure that, so they're taken care of if, God forbid, something happens to me. Now, hopefully, over time, you build enough wealth that you don't need the insurance anymore to take care of people, okay? But at the beginning, you do that. The challenge is that a lot of these life insurance and a lot of people now are selling these whole life policies. In other words, what happens is that they're telling you to overpay the premiums, and they'll keep it in what they call cash value, and they'll invest it for you. And then it's this thing called permanent insurance. It's going to be there for the rest of your life. It sounds wonderful until you look at the commissions, the fees, and the structure of it, and you sit back and say, wait a second, I'm putting money in for 3 or 4 or 5 years, and I got nothing but a death benefit. That's because it's going to commissions and expenses. And so it's a big thing that people are trying to sell these days, and it doesn't fit for everyone. And so I would look at it very closely. I think I'm of the mindset that if you need insurance, you buy insurance and nothing more. I can do better investing the additional premiums that it would cost to get a whole life policy on my own than trusting the insurance company to do it for me and take their fees out. Look at the deal. Here's the deal. To get a term policy, I have one of my policies that I do have is $1 million policy. $1 million term policy that costs me $1,000, less than $1,000 a year. Less than $1,000 a year. If I wanted to do that as a whole life policy so they could invest the money, it would cost me 20 times that, $20,000. Okay, $20,000. Okay, maybe I get it for $10,000 if I was younger. But my point is, $1,000 versus $20,000, there's a $19,000 difference. I can take the money and invest $19,000 and make a lot better than what they're promising me on the other end of it. So when I look at life insurance, I typically unless there's rare circumstances, say term insurance, and only if someone is depending on your income or you want to ensure your insurability. Okay? Listen, you may be young and you say, I don't need it. But you know what? At some point, you likely get married. At some point, you likely have children. At some point, someone's depending on your insurance. To get an insurance policy at a young age in your 20s could be as low as 30 or 40 bucks a month. It's not a bad deal, and it covers you for 20, 30 years, depending on the term you get. So that's how I would look at it. I'm not a fan of whole life policies for everyone, just generically, but for certain circumstances, it may make sense if we do it right. Okay, hopefully that helps. Cool. Any other questions coming in? Let's just see. I can get you to join. I can get you to come on live, and I'll coach you through it, and we'll make it happen. All right. This is a first time doing this, and I like it. I think I'm going to do this make this a regular show. Okay, I got one more question that came in. For those of you that want to ask questions after the fact or anything, remember I have a special link that go to askmelnow.com. You can either record a voice text there, you can submit a question there. We'll make sure that I put it on my list here, and we'll make sure that we get it answered for you. So if no other questions or no one else wants to come on live and walk through something, I got one more question that I'll answer, and we'll close it out. Feeding the YouTube content machine. Heck yeah. Let's do it. So what should you do now? He said this question came in from someone, and he said, I'm just starting out. I'm newly married. Okay, so he didn't give me his age, but just starting out, newly married. I'm going to assume late 20s. I'm making decent income. How do I make sure that I'm on track and that my spouse and I are on track to build wealth and find financial freedom? Now, first things first, I truly believe that financial freedom, it's our birthright. Okay. We just have to understand how to go claim it. We have to go out there and do it. And I'm not saying that it's easy. I am saying it's simple when you understand the principles and the priorities and the processes to make it happen. It's some of the stuff we talk about on my show. It's some of the things that we do. But two things that I would say will move you further three things that will move you further than before. One is that you are actually actively involved in your money game. Meaning this, you might have a degree or a profession where you're sitting back saying, I'm in fashion, or I'm in the medical field, or I'm a chef, okay? I don't really care about money, okay? Hopefully you don't say you don't care about money, but it's not my thing. And I get it. Let me ask you this. I get that money may not be your thing. The question really isn't, is money your thing? Is a good financial future your thing? That's the question. Because I think the answer to that for everyone is yes. And the only way that we can have a good financial future is to make sure that we get involved in our own education and learning. That doesn't mean that you need to be some crazy analyst and get licensed and all that stuff. Just to have a little understanding of money principles, investing principles, so you're informed and you're knowledgeable to make the decisions that you need to make. Okay, so I think that's the first thing. The second, if you are in a relationship like this person that wrote in is, they're in a marriage, recently married, is I want you to have money meetups. I want you to have money dates. I want you to have conversations, not about the money. So hear me out on this. I don't want you to sit back and say, I don't want you to go out to dinner or go out on a money date and sit there and go, honey, you spent $20 too much. Okay, that's not going to go well. All right. What I want you to do is to have conversations around your financial vision. What we call in the Affluence Blueprint, the affluence vision. What do we want our lifestyle, the aspirational lifestyle, to look like? making sure that we are both looking the right same direction and we stay in touch with that and we're doing the things to move us close to that. It's not about judging each other. It's not about criticizing, say, you spent too much, all right, you didn't, that's not going to serve you. And no one's going to want to do that for very long. But when we talk, like Stephanie and I will sit down and we'll talk about our financial future. What do we want it to look like? How much travel do we want to do? Great. What is it going to take? How do we both make that a reality in our life? And then we can put the tactical stuff to it. But we have to marry it to the why. We have to marry it to the vision. We have to marry it to the future. That leads to the third thing that I think you can do right now, okay? And that is to track your net worth, okay? In other words, now your net worth is the difference between all the things you own and all the things you owe. Now, I did a whole episode on my show about it that you can find where I take you through the details, because not all assets are assets. The only thing that I count as assets are things that can produce cash and allow you to pay for your living. So this is a coffee mug. It is not an asset, okay? The house I live in, yes, it's kind of an asset, but it's not producing cash flow. I live in it. It's actually a cost. So I don't look at it as an asset. But the investment portfolios that are producing cash and growing, yes, that's an asset. So we want to track it, because if we don't track it, we don't know if we're on track to our destination that we had the conversation around in our meeting. So I want to track it on a regular basis. I mean, you don't go on a trip and sit back and say, I don't know where I'm going. I don't set the destination. We set the destination. We know where we're starting and we map it out. We do the same thing with the finances and we check it. And you check it. I say, I check mine monthly. Actually, I watch my stuff daily because I'm in the market and I'm doing trading and other things. But I want you to do it at least quarterly. Just know, just check the pulse on the patient and know that you're good. Okay. All right. I got a couple questions that came in. Let me answer those. Books or courses you recommend. All right. So this is self-serving. I have courses. I have a money plan workshop course, which is the fundamental to create an unshakable foundation. I also have the Affluence Blueprint, which is my bigger signature course that really starts to build the whole process and everything. Those are there. From a book standpoint, I have a book coming out in 2023 and another one in 2024 that we're working on. But I don't want you to wait that long. I would look at books like Millionaire. It's an old one, but it's still good. Millionaire Next Door. I would look at David Bach's books are phenomenal guides and reads there. And I would start that. Tony Robbins, not the big one. I don't remember. I think it's Unshakable is the smaller one. The big one you can't get to. It's 750 pages. So just get the smaller one and start to read that. A great book for the psychology is called The Psychology of Money. Morgan Heisel, I think is the author's name. Great book. It's all about the thought process that is driving some decisions in there. So that I would start with that and go from there. All right. So it says, I have a 12-year-old. Should I put the money in an IRA or a money market or a CD fund for her? This is Beauty and Health 1010. Tell me a little more. First off, you can't put it in an IRA account unless she has earned income. So you can't put it in an IRA if she doesn't have earned income, because the IRA is personal to the person and it needs to be tied to earned income, meaning that she's getting a W-2 or a 1099 for that income. And I just presumed that it was, oh no, you said her. So you could put it in a money market or CD fund. The question is, when does she need it? If she doesn't need it for a long time, then a money market or CD fund's not going to get you anything. I'd probably put it in a wider, broad-based, low-cost ETF or index fund that's going to grow over time, because she's got many, many years to need it. Now, if this is an education fund or something like that, we might do something slightly different, because she might need it at 12 years, she might need it in 6 years. But even at 6 years, I probably would put a portion of it in a ETF or index fund, if that makes sense. Okay. So much information out there, I know, but no real roadmap to get started. Stay with me here. All right. Ask your questions. Let's give you the roadmap so we can get you started, and let's keep you moving forward step by step. Okay. The first thing is to realize that you actually do have control. The first thing is to realize that it's a learnable skill. The first thing is to forget what the financial services industry would like you to think, that it's really complicated and you need their hand holding and their help the whole time. Okay. Those are the things that I would start with, and then know that we can answer and help and keep you moving forward. Let's take this question. Do they have a minimum amount of money he must put in the money? Is there a fee to open up an IRA? So this is typically there isn't a fee to open up an IRA. Each brokerage house is going to be different. Your bank will probably have an IRA. The only difference with the bank is they may not have very many investment options for you, but you could open up at Vanguard or Schwab or TD Ameritrade. I don't think they have any fees, and if they have fees, they're very small. They're like $10 or $20 fees per year, and that's it. And it doesn't matter. The key is that anytime we're going to go into an IRA or a Roth, you have to have earned income to be able to do that. Okay. What's the minimum for earned income for that? Oh, this is a great question. So if I look at, let me just verify. As a child, you get a standard deduction. So you're going to need to look at the income levels that you have, because you have the ability to shield income up to almost $12,000. So you want to look at it from that perspective. And the cool thing is, Melinda, is that means that you could potentially pay up to $12,000. I'm not telling you to do it, and there'd be no tax on it. No tax. Here's the limitation. The limitation is that you got to pay them a market rate for what they're doing. So you don't just pay them to pay them. When my son was getting a commission, he was doing stuff for me. He was helping me in the office. He was doing things to make that happen. And so there was services being rendered. So, the 14-year-old would need to do something for the business to take it as a tax deduction. If we're not going to do that, then for you to take it as a tax deduction, it needs to be income for them. For them to do that, they have to do something to earn the income. Otherwise, it's a gift from you, which you can do, but it's not a tax deduction to you, and it's not income to them, and therefore it doesn't qualify for the IRA. That's how I would look at it, is do it that way. But you do need to look at their income levels to see if it makes sense for them to be able to put into the IRA. Okay. Hey, let me see. Beauty and Health 1010, followed by Kayla Kraft. Let's see. I'm bringing you on. Let's see what happens. Hey there.
Hi.
How are you?
I am great. How are you?
I'm doing well.
I'm doing my chores, cleaning, listening to you, sucking up all the information I can. So thank you.
I'm doing this so I get out of my chores.
Oh, awesome. So I would love your opinion. So I'm the one that wrote in about the 12-year-old. I do own my own business. I'm a hairdresser. I would love to set up an IRA or something for her. I have a little bit of money set aside. And my question was, what is the best avenue of putting some money away for her long-term? She's only 12. And if either she does a trade job or standard education, buys a house, travels, I don't know. We don't know what they're going to do at 12.
Yeah.
But what would your advice be? Also, I mean, since I gotcha, I have a 20-year-old and I have a 17-year-old. My 20-year-old is going to school, paying for her own schooling. She lives here. We help her that way. Could you answer all three? What's the best way I haven't invested for my kids because we haven't really had the money. And now I'm looking at a lot of time has gone by. How can I help them in the best manner now? I'm a little behind. I realize that, but I feel like most of us truly are. Most of us were taught to, me and my husband are the first to have an IRA. Our parents are 401. My parents didn't have that. So we're kind of behind, and yet you want to set your kids up or try to help them the best they can. I would love your advice.
Yeah. So here's the thing. I think that the most important thing for you to do, with any parent to do with their kids, is to get them engaged in the conversation around money.
Okay.
To realize, so the challenge with kids is they don't want to, I'm not even gonna say kids, even younger folks, because I hear it all the time. I have time. You do, but the weights get heavier. The runway gets shorter.
Yes.
And it's more difficult. So wouldn't it be easier to, one, develop the good habits now, get a basic understanding today, and do some of the lifting now, so it does. The whole idea behind wealth creation is to make sure your money works harder for you than you did for it.
Correct.
And when we get to that point, that's where you're going to see financial freedom, because it's doing the lifting for you, and it just continues to perpetuate. They may not see themselves clear on it, but if they start to see some of the examples that if we just start to put $10 away or $20 away, what does that turn into in 20 or 30 years? That they can literally be a millionaire. Tell them about my son. You know, he really started investing at 16.
Okay.
You know, so he was young, but he did it consistently, and it wasn't a lot. And then it grew because he saw it growing. He says, this is cool. This is cool. And they're literally next week, they're taking off and spending a whole month in Portugal.
Wow.
At their age. And they can, because they're set up right. Not only their business is set up right, but their financial situation is set up right. And I think those are the things that will speak to their soul to be able to do that. So the first part is their awareness and their engagement in the process. Two, to be able to, instead of you investing for them, I truly believe that if you have a business, you can say, listen, I want you to do some things. I'm going to pay you. But in the process of doing this, I want you to learn and do this. Okay? It's part of your job, because in that process, they're going to sit back, like Jeremy, figuring out how to reconcile a bank account. And all of a sudden, he sees that his stock account is growing. So at the beginning, if we can just get them doing that, then we can move it into a Roth, or then we can move it into a regular IRA, or then we can just leave it in a brokerage account. That's a decision we can make later, because if we don't get them over the hump of being engaged in it and doing some of it, then it doesn't matter what vehicle we use. So
they all are very good about putting in, we just do the bank, you know, kind of have a little money market in the bank. And that's kind of where they are. So they believe in investing. We as parents probably didn't do our best on maybe a larger quantity of it. You know, back when we were kids, the CDs and things like that, but they don't yield anything anymore. So we were trying to, they give, you know, they tithe in some sort, and then they also save, and then they're very independent on buying extras. So they're great in that avenue. My concern has always been, what are the fees? And it seems so overwhelming, the fees in which we're giving people. I haven't done Vanguard, although I've heard a lot about that. Is that probably the best way to, if I only have $1,000 to invest in her, do I start with something that?
Yeah.
That avenue?
So a lot of the discount brokerages, TD Ameritrade, Schwab, and Vanguard are probably the biggest ones.
Okay.
They're very, very low fees. Vanguard was built on a platform of saying we are going to put the lowest fees possible. So that was John Bogle's, you know, whole perspective. And so you don't get caught up in all the crazy fees that other people pay. And you don't need to pay a subscription fee, an advisor fee, or any of that at this stage. It just doesn't make sense. Put it in a total market stock fund or a broad-based fund that is low fee, low expense, less than 0.5%, and let it ride. And just let it go.
Mm-hmm. Quick question. So I also coach a lot of hairdressers. I do equal amount of coaching and hairdressing. A lot of hairdressers, because we're self-employed, we don't start any type of money for ourselves, right? Luckily, my husband's had a stable job, so I've had his money, more or less. Hairdressers are not good about saving money because it seems so big. Would this same thing be applicable if you were a self-earning hairdresser, needing to put some money away? I hear this every day. And I always tell them, just, start with an IRA because you can put $25.
Yeah. So I actually did a keynote speech for Britt Siva's group.
Okay.
And all hairdressers.
Yeah.
And I said, here's what I want you to do. I want you to take the first service of your week and put it away in an account.
Regardless if it's $25 or $150, $300, you just put that money away. Okay.
Because here's the thing, $50 a week, $200 a month, over 30 years will turn into $350,000. We think we need a lot of money. We don't. We need to get in the game, stay in the game.
Correct.
And
young.
You'll grow that amount that you're putting in.
Okay.
And that's important. So, and I just arbitrarily said the first service because it's an easy thing to do. But if it's the color and a cut and all that, all of a sudden it's $500. You're kind of going, wait. Then take 50% of it.
Yeah,
you just
I love it.
Take minimum. Say no less than this. My first service or this.
Or an end. Okay.
But then that week's investing or savings is done, and everything else is.
Yeah, I love it. Thank you.
Yeah.
The easier, the better. Small baby steps, I feel like, is the key, and it gets so overwhelming, and we make it too big. I love the idea of just a small little increment. Thank you. Thank you for your time. This is awesome.
Oh my God. You're welcome. Keep doing it. Keep in touch. Let me know.
Great. I'll keep watching.
You got it.
Thank you. Have a great day. Bye.
Here's the deal. I'm going to keep doing this. I hope you all keep coming. I hope you'll submit questions. Go to askmelnow.com and let's keep doing this money mentoring over coffee with me. And let's have some fun. Let's make some money. Let's make a difference. And let's make sure that we get a chance to put you on the path to financial freedom because it's your birthright. All right. Bless you all. You guys have an incredible day. And let's go crush the day.